Right, what year is this?
This is the year where it all changed. ByuL, who looked absolutely lost against Stargate play from the start, somehow pulls through, stays calm, makes a lot of units, and wins fights that I didn't feel he was going to be able to do nearly as well as he actually did.
But I'm still shocked that these Protoses, they seem to stop building carriers. Like, they're like, oh, I've got 5 or maybe 7, like that's good. But the moment you get like 10 or 11, like that's when the ground army just melts and there is no way they can shoot down the interceptors.
I think I said it at some point that I thought he should only make carriers from there.
Yeah.
And then he had maybe 1 or 2 more warpings. He did stats of adepts on the ground, which got countered very easily by the banelings. The thing though, if he hadn't made those, then he would have had a lot less units, right, for that fight. Otherwise, he would have had to be on 4 to 5 Stargates.
Yeah.
Carriers still do take a very long time to build, and I think that's why Stats kind of panicked and he was like, I need to make units on the ground right now. Maybe I can stack them later and then replace them with carriers. And I think that's what ByuL was counting on, that we kind of hadn't seen coming.
It's funny though, because whenever you watch the foreign Protosses, you know, whether it's Showtime or Neep, if those guys get up to carriers, then at a certain point it's nothing but Stargates. You know, you see them add multiple Stargates, and of course they'll get high Templars if they have to worry about Vipers. But this was a layer tech Zerg. A layer tech Zerg with a good economy later on, don't get me wrong guys, he got a lot of bases, great macro, and ByuL definitely made the absolute best of a very rough early game, because he was down 10, 15 workers at times, and the people will say like, but he had the gold. He's still down 15 workers, you know, that does really hurt as a Zerg. And the first Hydras were on the way when the first carriers were on the way. Like, it's crazy to me that ByuL won this game, but somehow, some way, he got it done.
Yeah, that's all that counts, I guess, right? In this best of 5 being up 1-0.
Man, we've got a series on our hands, Todd, because I really thought, just like the boys on the desk, that this was going to be a dominant performance by Stats. I thought he was going to take control right off the get-go, maybe drop a map, but no more than that. Well, 1-0 ByuL, and that's the semi-final.
I don't think too many people were counting on ByuL to do very well here. Someone on the desk, not going to name any names, said that ByuL was definitely not going to win this tournament. So far with the way he's looked here, I definitely would not count him out.
That's the only thing he said wrong, but everything else has been right. Game 2 is about to begin.
Welcome to Habitation Station, everybody. Starting in the top right-hand side of the map, playing as the Red Protoss is, of course, Stats.
The man that's down 0-1. I love how you welcomed us to Habitation Station, Todd. Now I feel like I'm on Habitation Station.
I almost feel like Protosses are welcome here.
Over here on the left top side, we're looking at the main base of our Zerg. He's up 1-0. It is ByuL. And a great, you know, for both players, this tournament thought so far has been a bumpy ride, right? Both of them already dropping 5 maps. Stats right now dropping his 6th map. You know, sometimes we have these semi-finals where it's like one guy only dropped 1 map and the other one is undefeated. These guys, you know, it hasn't been easy. They got a couple of bruises down the road, but they have made it to the semi-finals.
ByuL losing 1 series to Classic and Stats losing to Innovation. I'm not going to fault him for that one. You know, can happen to anybody. And ByuL actually threw in a whole couple of 12 pulls when he played against Classic in their last series, so I was wondering going to this series if he might do the same. So far, it didn't happen, but I feel like he might be saving it for maybe Daybreak or Whirlwind would be the maps to maybe bring it out on.
Yep, it's Pool into Hatch. He actually takes the natural, doesn't take the goal. Tiny bit surprised there, maybe worried about early adept pressure that could potentially pick off a couple of drones if he would go for the gold immediately, but this is a dangerous map. Like, I think a Habitation Station is one of these maps where if as a Protoss you play greedy and you be like, oh, 1 gate, maybe a Twilight, throw the boost out, Resonating Glaives, slightly delay my Mothership Core to get extra workers, you pretty much always die against some sort of a weird Roach Rush or Roach Ling, Roach Ravager Ling. So you got to be very, very careful as a Protoss, and you got to be very relentless with your scouting.
Actually, when Stats played Lucira, he was using a lot of these just safe Resonating Glaives opener with triple gateway into double Stargate and, you know, Phoenix, all that. Sometimes he even will throw in a Robo and kind of play the mind game of he's going to expect Stargates. I feel like on this map it would be one of the best things that you can do. If you go for a lot of adepts early on. You can put on some pressure. You can not shade in if you think that there is enough from the Zerg, which a lot of the time there will be. And then you go into carriers after some Phoenixes on 3 bases. On this map, I feel like it will be easier to secure your bases and kind of camp massing carriers than on others.
Yeah, could also be the Dark Templar opening, with something we did not see in game number 1 and we absolutely expect. Like, I think 1 gate Twilight, Resonating Glaives, 2 more gateways is great, but you need to make super sure that you don't face some sort of a Roach Rush, because the early adepts are really not going to do anything against like a super low eco Roach Ravager Rush. So far that doesn't seem to be the case, but it's important that Stats, you know, starts scouting and he knows for sure he's not facing that.
Stats actually faced one of those when he played against Lucia on Whirlwinds. He was horizontal spawns at the bottom, and because he saw it coming, he was able to hold anyway and just played it beautifully. Like defensively, sometimes you're going to see those games from some Protosses that just look like they make the rush look foolish from the Zerg, and that was kind of the case. So we'll see there, because ByuL is definitely capable of mixing in a lot of aggression. He's one of those players. Mentioned it in his interview. He's a very dangerous guy with that.
Gonna see if we can find an opening with these 2 adapts. You definitely don't want to lose the adapt, because a couple of Zerglings could potentially cancel. No, he doesn't want to cancel. Doesn't know what else was coming for him. Resonating Glaives is halfway done. We saw this opening being used once against ByuL in this tournament, and ByuL was not ready for it at all, right? Like, he didn't have the Bailing Nest done. This time the Bailing Nest is going up a lot faster, and that's very good news for him.
ByuL must be worried about extra gateways being made here, other than the initial 3, which are the standard, because he's going for a fairly early Bailing Nest. So he thinks that maybe if there is something like 6, 7 gates total, maybe even 8, you must have that Bailing Nest ready and Bailings, because otherwise there is no holding this kind of mass adept attack with just pure links and no roaches. So I like this choice here from him. He goes for the Evo Chamber as well. Probably going to be going for +1 melee.
Yep, and we could see some Dropper Lords in action later as well. I think this is a fantastic map for it, especially if there's no Stargate on the map. Well, there we go, double Stargate.
The usual follow-up here to this opener from Stats. Not particularly surprised from this, the good old T-Drogo 7 adepts. Gonna come forward here and start and putting some work. Does he shade or not? To shade or not to shade?
He cancels for now. One Bailing does connect with a couple of these adepts. Gotta be careful. The shades are right now going to be on cooldown. ByuL's got to go for it.
Shade out, actually. Those Bailings going to get rid of most of these adepts.
Shut down, Todd. Absolute shutdown here by ByuL. Really didn't take any damage at all, and that's painful because you need these adepts not only to force out more units, but how is Stats going to secure his 3rd base now, Todd?
The walker count behind is going to completely blow up from ByuL, knowing that he's defended very, very well. Goes for +1 missile, so he's already planning to go into the similar army, I think, in this game. As what we saw last game, I thought it was going to be maybe +1 melee if he had wanted to play with Massling Bane. But I think going for the +1 missile actually makes a lot more sense now, especially if you can anticipate that your opponent is going to be going for Stargates.
Now, to put things in perspective, guys, if this goes well as a Protoss player and you're feeling successful, you A, kill a couple drones, and B, you go up to 3 bases around 4 minutes and 40 seconds. 4 minutes, 50 seconds, slightly over 5 is not that bad either, but he lost all the adepts, didn't kill any drones, and he doesn't have a 3rd base yet. This is bad Niels Bear.
There is a chance ByuL actually plays even far more aggressive than what we saw last game. Obviously, he was kind of down for the longest time. He was trying to scramble, make anything that he could for some time. There is a chance that this game he just like kind of masses units and goes for the all-out attack on that 3rd base before there is a lot of carriers. I wouldn't fault him for that.
Shades being cancelled one more time. Man, this 3rd base, Todd, it's so late. It's 6 minutes into Legacy of the Void. That's the latest 3rd base I've ever seen.
Well, even two players, 2 base all-in players take an earlier 3rd base.
Yeah, because the main is almost run out. I mean, obviously this is still a playable game for Stats because the Phoenixes, they will always do some damage. The work accounts are close, but there is a gold base. And then last game, yes, there was a gold base, but ByuL was down 10, 12 workers. This Nexus being that late, he's going into Fleet Beacon again, but this time it's going to be a lot harder. If it didn't work on Vani, I'm not sure if he can pull it off here on Habitation.
Don't you think that when you see a macro hatch like this, I really feel like ByuL just kind of wants to mass and attack, just because of the way the game has gone as well.
What do you think is the best play for Stats? Like, how many Phoenixes do you make before trying to rush out those carriers?
I think he should stop now already. Just go straight for carriers. Drop down more Stargate, at least 1 more, because 2 is not enough.
Yep, I mean, he will probably start the 3rd Stargate as soon as he has the 2 carriers on the way. But it's going to be hard to survive on the ground. The army of ByuL is not that big right now. Make sure you don't mess up here, Stats. It's a lot of adepts. Okay, Bailing speed is not done yet. Oh man, if Stats goes down 0-2, Todd, then this semifinals is turned upside down and it looks so different than what I thought we were going to see.
2 carriers now starting. They are scouted pretty much immediately.
I want to see Stargate number 3 and number 4.
Both players know exactly where they're at right now. I think Stats completely realized that he's probably going to get hit by some sort of huge attack down the line. So getting the Forge obviously going to be very important in getting cannons around that third base. The way the map overlay works here is that if he places those cannons around a lot of pylons on his third base, that's pretty much where Zerg has to attack into. He might have a good chance at defending with some good overcharges and all that, but last game it just didn't feel like he had enough in that first big fight that happened already.
Yeah, he's rushing out the Mothership again as well. I won't say Mothership Core, so used to it. A couple of Banelings from the south side gonna try to blow up a whole bunch of probes here while he's distracting him with the links. In the end, Stats does sort of oh my god, there's so many probes!
11 probes in total going down. That means he's gonna have to replace this with some more probes. And his economy here takes a huge hit.
And that was just the first wave, Todd. More Banelings will start rolling in. ByuL, being as rich as he is, he can keep trying to look for openings like this. These Adepts will take care of these Banes. Stats needs more Stargates, man. He really does need more Stargates. Like, I would prefer to see Stargate number 3 pretty much always before the Mothership.
In this case, he's just going to keep on making carriers out of those 2 Stargates he already has.
Gonna be so many Hydras this time. We're gonna look again at the attack probably with like 40 Hydralisk, maybe +2 missile attacks, and then a stupid amount of Banelings on the ground. And it's going to be a very, very difficult hold. Don't worry, that's Halo. Whenever the Mothership over pops.
Ask and you shall receive. That third Stargate finally is there. Just feels like it's really late. Actually, I'm not sure about those Banelings coming in consistently there, because at this point, Stats was obviously in position. The Phoenixes are trapped across the map, looks like.
74 drones though. I really don't mind him trying to find an opening, because even just finding an opening once, which is what he just did, and where he got 11 probes, absolutely worth it. He's going to take care of this Adept as well, shut down this potential fourth base, at least for now. I think that ByuL is going to max out West at +2 missile attacks. It's finishing up, +1 carapace is finishing up. And thought it's going to be one hell of a hold. If Stats holds this, maybe force fields can come into play.
Yeah. You know one thing I don't understand here, by the way?
No.
Why Zergs don't just max out on Hydralisks, get like 20 spores and then walk across the map with them. And like, you will kill the Interceptor so fast.
I don't know. I mean,
I almost never see it. I guess like it would take a lot of time, right? You'd have to make them in the middle of the map. It's kind of risky, but
yeah. And also, I think he wants to keep the drones alive to make sure that he can remax easily.
Yeah,
but once again, this is going to be a lot of Hydras, and now we're about to see so many Banelings. Give it to me. I know all these links, Todd, or at least most of them, will morph into Banes. ByuL is a little low on the gas, but he's getting it. Plenty of Overseers
and
as well.
2-1 upgrades. This is so important. I think last game, though, ByuL might have been on 2-2 when that first big attack happened. This time it's going to be on 2-1. Obviously, it's still pretty darn good.
It's going to come down to the force fields, but he's going to give the high ground to ByuL immediately. So this fourth base, I think the fourth base is super dead. He cannot fight with 4 carriers. There is no way Jose. With 7 carriers, he has 3 on the way maybe, but he cannot fight with 4. He needs force fields. Oh god. It stands.
I love that overcharge. It's like 2 kilometers away from the actual fight. Phoenix is still across the map. That fourth base is going to be a force cancel.
Yeah,
and Stats, he's going to need some very good micro here to hold on. He's actually about to be supply blocked, so he can't even make more units now. Some pylons finally finish.
I do like that very mature decision to sacrifice that fort. If he tries to defend it, he dies. He loses the game. He's down 0-2 in the semifinals. Now ByuL might run down this ramp. There will be Photon Overcharge, a couple of cannons. Are the extra carriers in time? That's the big question. And I think they might, because 1 carrier has shown up. So this time we're looking at 5 carriers. Force fields go down as well.
Yeah, and ByuL might choose to pull back here a little bit and then try and regroup as a huge clump of Hydralisks. Stats is kind of out of, I don't know, he lost quite a few cannons on the left-hand side. There is no more overcharge here that he can use that will actually affect the fight, but he moves right back in there with the Adepts on the ground. Yeah, doing a lot of tanking, and the Guardian Shield is so important here. Yeah, keeping all of these units alive.
Guardian Shield helping out a lot, and these carriers slowly but steady rebuilding the Interceptor count as well. All of the carriers have popped. We're looking at 7 carriers now. What a hold there by Stats. I don't even know how he did that, Todd. He had to buy so much time. Did lose the fort, but he can rebuy it, and this time there is a hive on the way, but still, that's going to be a late hive, right?
Yeah, I mean, the carrier numbers are growing. He's on 7 right now. There's 2 more on the way. Like, we all know that from that number, it really starts being very scary for the Zerg player. I think ByuL is just going to kind of keep on rushing in there. I think actually High Templars right now might be for Archons, knowing that he's going to be attacked into again in a second here for Stats.
1 or 2 force fields would be great again as well. Stats, this time he cannot lose the fort base, though. He doesn't know about his army thought. He doesn't know about the units moving in. Stats is going to try to defend his fort for sure, as the Banelings will connect with the adapts. Guardian Shield should get popped. Is the carrier count high enough? I think it is, Todd.
Oh, there was no Guardian Shield, but those carriers still doing great against those Hydralisks. They're in such high numbers that these Interceptors cannot be dealt with, and they're being rebuilt so fast as well. This was not a cost-effective fight for ByuL at all, and he spent his entire bank behind this.
Can you spell Le Massacre for me one time, Todd?
Le Massacre.
Because my French is not good, but that was amazing. Sick hold there. Now +3 air weapons is on the way. Storm is on the way. And Stats, how he looked amazing in game 1 early on and somehow lost. This time he had a very rough early game and he's turning it around. More carriers was perhaps the answer after all.
More carriers is always the answer, man. Golden Armada, that's what you go for. Safe bet on this one.
I love these Phoenixes, by the way. He doesn't bring them back. He doesn't want to lose the Phoenixes, but they're still being annoying. Slowly but steady, chipping away at that drone count, shaving off a couple drones at a time. I like it.
It's time for that epic quote, man. Just look at the supply. The army supply in particular, 122 to 60 or 73 for 9. With Storm on the way, like I don't even want to imagine the absolute slaughter that's going to happen when some High Templars land some of these psionic showers on the Zerg army.
And the most important thing is that the fact that he goes for Storm will show us that he will always have a couple of High Templars there, because the only way I can see Stats somehow lose if a whole bunch of carriers get abducted, right, by Vipers and they get picked off one by one. But if he has High Templars as well to feedback those Vipers, it's a completely different ballgame. He doesn't actually start Vipers, he starts +3 missile attacks. Okay.
These are for Archons, right? You don't want to keep like 11 High Templars usually. You just keep a bunch at the front. Storm about to finish.
Oh, man.
+2 air weapons as well.
Storm and carriers and +3, like you said. This is going to be a sick fight for Stats. The only issue for Stats is...
that's +3 actually. That's sick. Oh my god. Carriers, this many carriers with +3.
Yep.
Brace yourselves, because not a single one of them is going to die.
You know, the only weird thing is that there is no robotics facility, so you can't get an observer and you can't really clear out the creep. But does it truly matter when you look at 11, 12 carriers with +3 air weapons and Storm? I don't think so. 10
I don't know, Kev. It's not looking all that good for the Zerg player right now.
No. Stats finally getting some bank as well. Not that much, but enough to never have to worry about these.
Don't kill those Phoenixes, because that's carrier supply right there. You're going to free. Let them live. Cherish them. Wine and dine them, because if you kill those guys...
The standard 15-minute robo timing, as he does want to get an observer, perhaps to make sure that he doesn't have to worry. You know what would be sick?
At least he gets one, unlike innovation making a starport.
You know what's sick? Something that has been very good against carriers that I've seen multiple times now, and I really think this can be a thing.
Parasitic bomb?
Yeah, no, yeah. Parasitic bomb is not that good, I think, because they have too much HP. Neural, burrowed infestors with neural parasite. I think it can work, but obviously...
So I guess that's why he's getting the robo and an observer.
It's very smart.
But
I mean, I don't think it's like purest play. Oh, he abducts the mothership!
And no time to recall out of there. Actually, with some good abducts and staying outside the range here, maybe ByuL somehow can start climbing back in this game and win with a crazy comeback, but I just don't see it here. ByuL having Storm and so many High Templars.
Yeah, and
shouldn't let that happen.
And feedbacks, of course. I wouldn't mind a single Oracle either, just to tag the army, so you don't have to rely on observers. Look at these two adapts on the high ground.
They think they're siege tanks.
They're like, a little further, just a little further. Observers are on the way. These adapts are actually going to kill a whole bunch of drones, because there's no way ByuL's taking care of this right now. I don't know. I don't want to make predictions.
Oh, you always do, and you're always right. Almost.
Only early game, because I'm always there. But the late game, it's hard to make predictions. They got a couple, that's nice.
Yeah, you would not have predicted 5.
Because it's going to be 7. Shit. 6. Shoot! 6 it is. 10 carriers, 6 Archons, 6 High Templars with Storm and feedback. 2 observers as well.
How long Stats wait for? Because it kind of feels like there's no limit. Like sky's the limit. Like literally, he's literally waiting.
Getting a Raw Prism as well.
I'm not sure. Okay, so he wants to be able to reinforce in the fight, or does he want to use that for maybe some War Prism harassment in the main base?
Yeah, I think
he's going to be maxed out, so I guess to reinforce in the fight with adepts, just because carriers take forever to remake and reinforce the main army. If he starts, obviously he's going to lose his ground army pretty quickly. Just reinforce with mass adepts under his carriers, and make sure that they keep on tanking let the carriers do the work with the interceptors in particular.
ByuL is getting a Ultralisk Cavern now. I would really love to see some Infestus slot. I would have loved to see some Neuro, but I guess he's just not comfortable with it. So I can't blame him. In the semifinals of the Into Extreme Masters, you don't want to do something you haven't practiced. But I think that this is a Protoss army. And the only way it's going to work for ByuL if he gets all these abducts up and he somehow keeps the Vipers alive.
I love what ByuL is doing, by the way, of threatening the counter-attack.
Yeah.
He did that against Classic on Daybreak. When Classic had a mass air army, ByuL, he waited for Classic to move out and then he countered attack immediately. And before Classic could come back and fight, ByuL had sniped one of his base and all the drones that were there. So he said basically, sure, maybe you can come back and clear up my army, but I'm gonna have killed your base and a lot of your economy that you can't really replenish. Wow. And in this case, sacrificing a bunch of Archons there.
Not sure about this one. 5 Archons for 6 or 7 Hydras. That's gotta be a little careful with that because he is low on the gas count. And don't forget that something that does happen sometimes is that you mine out all the assimilators on your side of the map. So Stats gotta be careful. I don't really know why Stats is so afraid. He loses the cybernetic score
right now it feels like Stats is going mech. And ByuL is using the immobility of mech, but in this case it's carriers that are fairly slow as well, so Stats gonna have to start splitting, and he does just that, sends a couple of adepts at the top with some carriers there.
I would like to see him research charge actually, because soon he's wiping in Zealots. Does he have charge? No, right? No, he's gonna go 7 Ultras. I don't know, I find it a weird decision, Todd. How do you feel about the 7 Ultras?
I guess they're gonna wreck the grounds, but like the Hydras are gonna... I think ByuL has no intention of taking a fight head-on. He's using his crease spread and his map information. Actually, he takes the other gold. He takes the other gold. He takes the gold base towards that side of the map. So, yeah, I think ByuL doesn't want to fight. He wants to run all over the place like this. Keep Protoss on fewer bases, which on Habitation Station sounds kind of silly because it's a split map thing, right? And then from there, just make sure he's mined way more. And even if he's not cost effective in one of the fights, look at the amount of lava he has. He had 37. He can just replenish his army so fast. Also remember, like one of the best things you can do against a mass tier Protoss is to go for mass cracklings, head across the map and snipe all of their buildings. So I think he's just using the immobility here of the carrier super well so far, because if he had just sat at home, Stats might have attacked with a lot of High Templars and carriers and killed him already. Yep,
no, he's definitely doing a good job in dancing around. Viper's gonna fly forward, feedback could land, and that's a full energy Viper, so it would die immediately. The other Viper is almost full on energy as well. 9 Ultras though, Todd. I mean, like maybe if he can snipe the 5th base, somehow he's gonna get a couple of Hydralisks on the high ground. I like that move. 3 Adepts, I don't think that's going to be enough to deal with 6 or 7 Hydras. So once again, this Protoss army is gonna be out of position.
How about 12 carriers though?
Yeah.
But be enough.
Maybe the natural. I mean, look at ByuL. ByuL's gonna mine off that gold, like you said. I mean, that he took it is one thing. That he's actually gonna mine off it, I think that's a whole different story, but whatever.
I love that the Queens are joining in, by the way. Like, he's already injected so many of his bases that he has a lot of lava available. That's kind of like dead supply. Carrier you want to get rid of eventually.
I believe a couple of carriers got abducted there, or at least one. One died. Once again, we have a Warp Prism in the main. He can warp in 7 or 8 Zealots. Now we get a second Robo. Stats has been the most patient Protoss ever here, Johan.
After Hazuops.
No, even Hazuops right now is awake in Germany. He's like, wow, I got nerd chills through my body. Somebody's being more passive than me.
Going for the Hive, actually, that's nice. If you can trade some mineral heavy units into Zealots for some tech buildings that require gas, it's going to be very nice here from Stats.
21-minute dodge shrine as well.
2 more Robos?
Yeah, he's going to be triple Robo.
I guess he saw the Ultras and he's like, I might need some Immortals on the ground. And a Dark Shrine,
I don't mind the
Overseers.
I definitely don't mind the Immortals. I can live with that. Did he get the Hive there, by the way? Was that the Hive?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. So now if he can get an Ultralisk Cavern or the Spire, that would be great. That means no more Vipers, by the way, Todd. If he feedbacks the Vipers, that would be a massive loss for ByuL. Sorry, guys, didn't even think about this.
Our lair was restarted elsewhere, though, already. I think ByuL knows that he needs to have that available.
Stats, your gold, man. Like Stats cannot afford to lose those resources on his side of the map. Those are resources he doesn't need now, but he could potentially need later. The carries are a little bit out of position. Where's
looks like ByuL's gonna go for it. And he's actually kind of runs in there with a lot of his army not fighting right now. He's being fought at the gold base by some units as well. Maybe some Zealots killing a lot of drones. He's gonna run right in there. The Storm's not landing just yet big time, but they finally are going to.
The Hydra count is so low though, Todd. There's a couple of Queens, but I think that Hydra count is just simply too low. Those carriers are not fighting, by the way, in the back. He's using a couple of Zealots to take out the gold, and I think in the end, Stats will survive here. Will he keep the Nexus alive as well? He should. And if he keeps the Nexus alive, this was a massive victory. One carrier gets abducted. and gets picked off, but that's the only carrier here that's gonna fall.
The long-awaited fight finally happens, and Stats is able to come out on top here as expected. Gets rid of the gold base from ByuL and might be able to take it himself. He lost a lot of probes in the process, but with the bank that he has, Stats shouldn't worry too much about only having 24. Like maybe a couple more would be nice, I guess. But in late game like this, it's all about assembling the perfect army that will crush your opponents. And so far, I think Stats is doing a very good job of that.
The next wave is going to be hard, though. I mean, look at the bank of ByuL. ByuL has just been so ridiculously rich, and Stats has no more gas. He's been going so crazy in the
He overdid it, I think, on the Archons, especially those that he sacrificed. He shouldn't have, I think.
Yep, those were 5 Archons. There's one Viper. That's the only Viper, by the way, that's out on the map. I think he made that Viper during the fight. ByuL is so brutal. He's just going to take that gold again.
He's a full savage.
He shows no respect at all. What? This game is so bizarre, Todd. Like, I've been lost like 12 times because this is a bizarre game. We see everything and it's still so confusing.
We see everything, but we see nothing.
Yeah. I don't even know what I'm watching. I do know I like it. 18 more Hydras on the way.
ByuL actually might pass Stats here in a second in army supply and then go for the fights.
Yeah.
And he has a much better bank. He's going to be able to remax so much faster behind this, but because he brought all of his queens in the fight, he has no injects to work with, so he kind of needs to wait to have some more.
And we shouldn't forget that the army supply of Stats right now is a tiny bit deceiving. 146 looks, oh my god, right, that's great, but it's 25 Zealots. And Zealots are not bad. You cannot lose carriers, by the way, like this. If these carriers fall, one does get abducted and it will get picked off. That's a great pick-off by ByuL.
Oh, he's going to sacrifice the Zealots to try and take out these very important bases here to wreck the economy of ByuL, who sure has a bank, but not to remake that much more just yet.
Yeah, you don't really want to use your bank right now to rebuild bases that doesn't have that many resources left. Getting the hatchery would be massive instead of getting the spores. ByuL, that gold is about to finish off. Like, what on earth? Okay, he saved a couple of Zealots. That's very nice.
I guess like Stats, maybe he waits until that bottom base to be mined out and then he starts focusing a lot on the gold. But like you said, like so much of this gold base will already have been mined out and he's down to 7 carriers.
Yep, and this time the Hydra count out 54 with one more on the way.
Like a fair fight, but good thing we got High Templars.
Yes, Storms could potentially make a difference. Zealots can really make a difference as well if the Bailings don't connect. But ByuL realizing like, hey man, you've got a lot of Zealots. I need a few more Bailings.
It's 4 High Templars for 54 Hydralisks. They better land some good ones. Especially with the the Ultralisks running in there
Dark
on the
Templar.
ground super fast.
That
is the worst Dark Templar ever.
Yep. Hey, it got. I mean, I've seen Dark Templars get no kills. This one got 1. I like how he's idling that, by the way, so he could potentially intercept the carrier.
Yeah, with some spores. That's really nice.
He can unpower the Stargates. Look at that Hydra.
I was thinking about that from the start.
Okay. You need like 7 Zealots, but it happens. Alright. What a game. I kind of like ByuL's army better now, Todd. This Hydra count is out of control. 55, that's so
Keep in mind, like, right now it feels like for Stats to win the fights, he needs to land perfect storm on the entire army. But then that means he might not have enough feedbacks to deal with the 3 Vipers that ByuL now has.
I felt after Stats won that one fight so decisively and he was on 4 bases, it was his time to start being aggressive.
Yeah, but ByuL used perfectly the threat of the counter-attack.
I felt like he almost had no army there, but it doesn't matter. We see massive storms going down, parasitic bomb being casted as well. But the Hydras and the Ultra are ravaging that 5th base on the bottom side of the map. So even though Stats wins that fight, he's going to lose pretty much the only mining base that he had. He has to kill this gold and he has to kill it fast. ByuL stole so many resources of this side of the map, Todd.
ByuL is such a cerebral player. You can see being able to pull back like this. So many players would have just taken the fight and then maybe lost it right there. But to go for that counter-attack at the bottom, buy himself a little bit of time at the top, he is now in the position where he could be going up 2-0 here in this series.
42 Hydralists still. Do we have any storms left? We should have maybe 1 or 2. I'm not sure if he has that many. And it's a beautiful storm that does connect with a lot of Hydras. Second one connects too. More Hydras will fall. Man, just 20 Hydras died there, Todd. And I felt almost no Protoss units died. And now suddenly, you gotta like Stats his position again. What a game!
And there is only 1 Viper left. He feels like he needs more. That one abduct earlier was fantastic. If he was able to do that again on the mothership, it would weaken the Protoss army so much. But now, I guess Stats just retakes the gold base himself. He's down to 11 probes. They're gonna mine out the map.
I mean, we know the Spoon Terran. This is like the plastic Spoon Protoss who just sits back.
A cheaper version.
yeah. Got it at
the silver Spoon Protoss.
You got it at the dollar store. On screen it's a little bit scary, but there are still so many carriers, so many interceptors. The Immortals are going to town as well, and this Zerg army is melting. GG. Stats wins a ridiculous game on Habitation Station.